Scout.com Sam Hellman, joined by national recruiting analyst Brian Doan, and we're talking Penn State today, Brian. Penn State's had some ups this season, they've had some downs, but getting extra scholarships back for this recruiting class has to be very exciting for them, and it's really changed what they've been trying to do with the class of 2014.
Yeah, it gives them more depth, and that's what Penn State needs. I mean, you talk about the ups and downs with it, and a lot of it has to do with depth inside the program and what you can do not only at practice but also creating competition and everything, and also just getting good players. And when you're getting 5 more scholarships to give out, you saw how quick Penn State acted. They go get Jason Kabinda, who was committed to Syracuse. They go get Jonathan Thomas, who was committed to Maryland. And to me, that's huge from the standpoint of this. You're still facing sanctions. You still have a bowl ban, and you're going out and you're beating Syracuse and you're beating Maryland. I mean, you're taking kids from them just because you're Penn State and because the staff is doing a good job and they've ID'd it. And you know, they offered some other kids, including linebacker Melvin Kine out of the Gilman School of Baltimore. And I think if they pushed really hard for Melvin, I think they could get him. And keep in mind, they already have Troy Vincent from down there from the Gilman School, the cornerback, going to Penn State. They have Marcus Allen from Wise. They have Mark Allen from DeMatha. You know, you go. Penn State does a good job in Maryland. And I think it's a target area for them, and the extra scholarships, you can see that part of the region being, you know, I think Penn State's going to concentrate there.
Well, Bill O'Brien's NFL talk, you know, you're going to hear it every year, especially as they be successful, you know, as that success continues. Good or bad?
I mean, you know, it's good because it means that people have high thoughts of him, and he's a high caliber coach. If there's something in recruiting that always happens is there's always something negative that another school is going to bring up. Look, if it's not Bill O'Brien going to the NFL, it's they don't have the bowl thing in front of them. It's, you know, if once that gets rectified and you're back up to scholarships, it's going to be, well, geez, you're not going to be able to compete with Ohio State, or you can't do this. There's always something negative that other schools are going to deal with. Put on you, and you're going to have to deal with. I mean, as far as the NFL, I mean, geez, everything you hear is at some point he's going to leave, but hey, man, that stuff goes on all the time. And when you start, he'll always deny it. He's a very personable guy. He's great with the recruits. It doesn't matter what I think. It doesn't matter what you think. Right. It matters what they think.
Yeah.
Correct? So the recruits will think that he's staying, and he'll sell that to them. I mean, shoot, you know from being based in New Jersey, Greg Schiano sat in Ian Thomas's living room the night before he accepted a job to the Tampa Bay Bucks and said, I'm going to be at Rutgers forever.
Well, one recruit, speaking of the New Jersey, New York area, that Penn State is very hard after is defensive tackle Thomas Holly out of New York. What's going on with Holly right now in terms of where Penn State stands in fighting to get him?
You know, it's funny. Holly's one of those kids that, you know how this stuff goes, Sam. You always want to, you think you know where a kid's going. You kind of have a beat on what's going on with him. And for a while you heard Ohio State, Notre Dame, Florida. And then you realized that he opted to go to Ohio State on an official visit rather than go to Notre Dame's big recruiting weekend against USC. He already tripped to Penn State. It was a priority for him to get out there on an official visit, and he's still in the process of working on a Florida visit date. Does he go on a Michigan visit? Who knows at this point. Does another school get involved? He wants to decide in early January. But Penn State really helped himself, and for a while they've been telling him, hey, you're our guy. You're our defensive tackle that we want. And he knew that. But then when he went to campus and he was able to really sit down with the staff and hear it, I think it made him believe it more. And I've always thought that Thomas was a guy who didn't want to go too far from home, but wanted to get a little bit away from home. And I think
the 4 to 6 hour range.
Yeah, and I think Penn State fits that. I think Ohio State could be a little too far for him. I think Penn State fits him. Boy, for some reason, I never would have thought that a month and a half ago, but right now I like where Penn State sits with Holly, but it can change.
In terms of momentum, Penn State built a lot with that big triple overtime home win, and you know that helps with recruiting already. But Penn State still has some guys that they're going after. You've mentioned Melvin Kine already as someone that they've looked at since getting extra scholarships. What are the other names other than Holly and Kine right now that Penn State fans need to keep an eye on?
Well, right now, the linebacker Lee out of Midwest who they're looking at, and we'll see where things go with him. Whether they can pluck a receiver recruit from somewhere else if they want to, who's already committed. We'll see how that transpires too. And then there's Alex Buchser, the offensive tackle out of Western PA, North Allegheny. The thing about Buchser is this: his teammate Troy Apke's committed to Penn State. Apke was at the Michigan game. Buchser was supposed to join him at the Michigan game. He did not go. To me, I've thought for a while that Buchser's a kid that's going to wind up at Pitt because he wants to stay close to home. He loves the fact that he can get to campus in 20 minutes, a half hour, and his family can come see him. But I think right now Penn State is in the they knew what they wanted to get in terms of before the NCAA reduced its sanctions. They've ID'd some kids now, and I think, and that's what we talked about, the kids who, Kabinda Thomas, Melvin Kine, and we'll see what else develops. I think Penn State's going to use the next month to really take a look at things and see who else they want to get and offer and kind of target some other guys.
Penn State's been hot and cold on the field this month, very hot and very cold at other times, but in recruiting, these extra scholarships change a lot, and you just heard the latest from national recruiting analyst Brian Doan on what that means for Penn State.